Okay, Plymouth Albion fans, welcome to our end of season review with coaches Ryan Lamb and Damian Welch after what's been certainly an exciting season for Plymouth Albion. Welcome, gentlemen. How are we doing?
Yeah, not bad, mate. Thank you. All good.
All good, mate. All good.
Well, I think we'll begin at the beginning. First senior coaching appointments for the pair of you. How's this season been for you? How was it at the beginning? What was the feeling?
Yeah, pretty stressful to start, mate. Obviously, it's been fun in a lot of ways, but it's also been a massive challenge. I think the squad that we inherited at the start, when I came on board, ended up being pretty different from the one that we ended up with taking the pitch in pre-season. And obviously presenting us a lot of challenges in terms of integrating boys, integrating systems, and getting things up and running. And obviously at the start, that kind of reflects in our results a little bit. It was difficult. And it was just it was quite a struggle, but obviously quite an enjoyable one as well, mate, to be honest.
Do you think there was perhaps it was exacerbated further because we are Plymouth Albion and the history the club has, and when you look at some of the teams we play against in the facility, there's a clubhouse and a pitch, and we have this huge history sat behind us, and there's expectation every week.
Yeah,
is that fair to say?
It's definitely a factor. It's a factor amongst ourselves, amongst our own fans as well. Ryan will tell you, me and Ryan are massively competitive. We don't want to be, running out in front of the stadium and the fans that we've got, as we do, finishing up, bottom end of the table. So that's something that we need to work on. I think you're right. Obviously, you'll know as a player yourself as well, Chris. When you go to someone with a really nice setup, whatever, it does lift you a little bit. So we're going to have to deal with the fact that teams coming to our place are going to be, lifting themselves that little bit more, purely because of the fact that they're running out a really good stadium.
And Ryan, yourself, how's you've a house move mid-season? How's it been for you? First year with Plymouth Albion.
No, it's been good. As Damon said, there's some serious challenges that will probably present itself over the year, but I think we've dealt with it pretty well. I think the squad come together a lot more during the season. I think at the start of the season, as Damo said, there's a lot of changes. Obviously, the coaching squad, in the coaching team and in the squad itself, there was a lot of people coming in, a lot of new faces. So it was hard to integrate everyone in. But I think the boys obviously come together a lot more when the more adversity we had, which I think is a positive, more than a negative, because it's easy to kind of find excuses throughout the year and then kind of tag out. But I don't think a lot of the lads kind of bought into what we're doing, especially when we're going away with 17 people in the squad and six to eight front rowers in the squad as well. And those boys all stood up and we kind of took it as like an us v them, like us against the world type of thing. And I think the boys bought into that a little bit. And as I said, there was challenges, but I think coming through, I think we've learned a lot from this year in terms of most probably what me and Damon's going to do and what the lads showed and the qualities they brought through. So a lot of them's got a lot of credit in the bank going into this season.
Sticking with it, Ryan, for yourself, I mean, it was pretty obvious. There was a point in the season where our starting backline, every single one of them was injured. And our reserve winger would have been James McFarlane, and our reserve scrum half was Luke Chapman.
And they'd have done a job, mate. They'd have done a job as well.
They would have done a job, feed the speed. But for yourself, how's that been? People won't have seen this when we've gone to training, and maybe you've got 5 fit backs available. How interesting a challenge was that for you?
It's obviously. You kind of take it in your stride a little bit. They more say stuff, as you said, it's most probably our first full season of proper coaching, men's coaching in a quite a competitive league, a national one, and we kind of took everything as it come. Everything changed from Tuesday. You thought you had a full squad, then Thursday, literally, it would decimate. X2 would pull a lot of their boys back, and we'd have a few injuries on the Thursday, and you literally be crossing names out left, right, and centre, and trying to add them together. And it just sometimes it was literally trying to stick a circle peg in a square hole. But all I can say is I can just give the boys a massive amount of credit. A lot of adversity. I think a lot of when we went away, like I can remember the wins at Chinner away, bonus points at Cambridge. like the Moseley away getting like we're in such a bad state. We're in such a bad state in terms of squad, and not mentally though. I think we got stronger, and to pick up those type of points, obviously you could see it was actually key towards the end of the season. And I think Damo and myself spoke a lot about targeting 4 tries, and we had that mentality of making sure we get something out of every game. And I think we did do that in the last 8 games. I think we got something out of the game.
14 in the league last 5 games.
Yeah, I mean that's what I mean. And with a really not, I don't want to say weakened squad, but it was a weakened squad, and a lot of boys playing out of position. So I mean, I have to give as much credit to them as much as us as well, maybe.
Well, let's go back to the first part of the season, and played 5, lost 5. What were the conversations like in the inner sanctum with you guys at that point? Was it keep the faith, or were we trying things new?
It was pretty stressful, mate. Obviously, I think Ryan's hitting the nail on the head there. I think we eventually did learn to roll with the punches a little bit, and kind of take things as they come. But at the start of the season, obviously, the pair of us, really want to do a good job for ourselves and for everyone, for all the players and the fans and stuff. And I think obviously we did take it a little bit personal that we were losing every week in, week out. But it's one of those things really where the good part of it is the squad that we had was the squad we were going to have the whole season. We couldn't change anything in terms of that, so we had a lot of good players in there. We knew we had good players, so it was just a case of literally carrying on, seeing just trying to tweak things here and there. And it's like anything. If you look at Leicester last season, they couldn't buy a win, and this season obviously they've had a year with the guys have learned kind of what they're doing. They've understood the systems. They've understood playing with each other. That experience counts for a lot, which is why I think, despite the fact we had a depleted squad numbers was the back end of the season, we actually started picking up more points because, the guys were more used to each other. They were more used to playing with each other. They were more used to the systems that, Ryan wanted to do. They were more used to the defensive systems that we had in place. It's no surprise really that obviously things started to come better. As I say, you just got to like it to Leicester really. It's just an experience type of thing. But yeah, the early days were pretty stressful, pretty dark. More because, as you said earlier on, but with Plymouth Albion, we've got huge expectations, rightly so. And losing 5 from 5 wasn't really how we wanted to start. Even though there was some positive things in that kind of first 5 games, there were some real real good moments. But obviously, results count, and it was a pretty tough place to be.
I mean, on the back of that, it was quite difficult because we had such a small squad. You couldn't actually practice against anyone. So in terms of defence, you were most probably defending against 2 or 3 people, and I had to step in. Damo had to step in. In terms of attack, you were kind of almost attacking against no one. So you had to shorten everything down a little bit and break the game up, especially in attack the way we did. We had to break the game up in certain scenarios. So we break up runners off 9, and then with the way we want to do it, who we want to attack, who we want to load up, but we had to do it in such small blocks. We couldn't really bring it out as a team. It was more like 3 lads working around the corner, and you go in groups, and we're trying to break up every little part of the in terms of what I was trying to do, the attack game, in very small blocks, or as you say, carrying off 9, or would it be like some plays in phase play off back? Is it the shape off 10? And you couldn't really do it. Was like kind of put phases together a little bit. You had to do it in 1 phase or 2 phases and then stop, and then and that made it difficult because it took a lot longer to be able to understand what you're trying to do in the system and see the picture. Because sometimes you can make 3 or 4 phases at a time against the defense. You can start seeing the picture that's in front of you, but if it's a drill and it's just stuck in that drill, it's actually hard to recognise that when you come into a game. And I think the understanding got a lot more towards maybe around Christmas, I'd say, Damo, wasn't it? I think we all kind of knew what we're trying to get, and you could see a real bounce after Christmas where the boys were starting to put better performances in parts of the game, like 10-15 minutes we'd be really good in a game, and then we'd just drop off for 10 minutes, make some silly decisions, and then back on again, and then that's where we were getting our points. And then I think as you saw towards the end of the season, we started putting that in longer blocks, 20-minute blocks, 25-minute blocks, and it'd be a good first half. And then you see it was like the knock-on effect of that was that they'll be more tired in the next in the last 20-25 minutes, the opposition, because we kept hold of the ball a bit better and put pressure on them. And then you saw against Taunton, I think that's probably our best performance with our best squad that we had in the year. We just put the squeeze on them, and we had a good 70, 80, 90-minute performance there, and you can see it all kind of everything in the year kind of come together on a big day, and that's credit to the lads putting that performance in.
Yeah, well, you both mentioned obviously the challenges with the smaller squad, and I'll jump on some of the questions now. So both Dave Arnott and David Roberts. Dave said, have the players been given new contracts? Who's staying? Who's going? And Dave Roberts, are the new signings planned? Now I believe there's ink still to be put on contract, but with regards to where we are at as a squad going into next season.
We pretty much re-signed everyone, more or less, from what I'm aware. I know Connor's obviously off to Scotland to play some rugby up there for a bit. But generally speaking, I think everyone's re-signed. We got onto that fairly early doors. I think it's my understanding that usually, in the past, historically, the clubs tend to sign players around about now, but we've actually, we've done pretty much all the re-signings there is to do. And in terms of new signings, we've got, several boys coming in. Obviously, we want to have a bigger squad next year. One of the biggest challenges that we face this year is trying to think outside the box because of this, the small squad we have, and obviously the knock-on effect that has, not just with selection, but as Ryan's alluded to, with training as well. So there are some boys coming. There's some potentially exciting, times ahead in terms of signings. It's just as you said, we've just got to wait until we've 100%, cross the T's, dot the I's before we can start to announce them. But hopefully you'll start to drip feed those out in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and Simon Arthurs has said, I don't think he was referring to me with his question. Are you going to register as a player for next year?
You might need to, Bentos, to the same as last year. No, I can't, mate. Genuinely, I struggle to get down the stairs in the morning. I could do a bit of kicking, and if it was in training, and to be like
you can live the dream Tuesdays and Thursdays, but Saturdays is a no. And yourself, Damian?
No chance. I don't think get on the field again. No.
No, I think it's the same for me, mate. Really, don't get me wrong. I've thought about it several times this season, and really genuinely thought about it. But then actually, when I've realised the same as Ryan, that actually the knees are falling to pieces, etc. It's one of those things where it's not a massively good idea as well. I always worry about player coaches. If I'm there telling the boys, this is what we do in the lineup, this and this is non-negotiable, and I accidentally do something myself in a game, all my credibility goes for a start. So, it's about knowing when your race is run, mate. I think mine's been run, unfortunately.
And I think to further add to that, I think we're trying to build something for a length of time, and three men, well, one man certainly the wrong end of 40 and two coming up to their 40th is not really for the future.
Yeah, I'm 35. Everyone keeps saying I'm 35. I got miles away.
It's just the way you make it, the looks, that's all it is.
I've
got a lot of loose skin.
So carrying on with the questions, Mike Newham, what are your best and worst memories of the season, and what challenges do you think we'll face into the new one?
I think for me, I've got a couple of my best memories. Obviously, it's going to be an obvious one, but the Taunton performance for me was just a really, really good performance. The boys absolutely smashed them in the forwards in the first half, and the backs ran right in the second half. So it was a real complete performance. So in terms of actually sitting back and thinking, right, we're starting to see what we're hoping to see next season. It was the first time that me and Ryan have sat there and thought, this is a complete performance. This is boding well for the future. So that's one of my best ones. And then my other best one, mate, actually is just recently, the Rosslyn Park game. I think that was just a real, illustration of kind of the heart that some of the boys have got. The fact of the matter was, we went to Rosslyn Park not needing anything, and they knew that full well. Obviously, everyone knew that once this game was out of the way, they were going to get on the beers. And it would have been very, very easy for the boys just to throw in the towel. And to put the performance they did, in terms of coming back and getting the draw towards the end and actually being on the front foot with the chance of maybe even nicking it with the last play of the game, I just thought it was phenomenal. And obviously the boys thoroughly deserved their drink afterwards, and it made the atmosphere really, really special, mate. So that's kind of my two best memories. Don't know if Ryan's got any similar.
I think my favourite, also I could see the turning point was probably Cambridge away, where that was probably one of my lowest as well, because we're coming on Thursday, didn't we, Damon? And I think everyone got dragged back from Exeter. I think we had 4 or 5 injuries in the pack. I think we had 5 injuries in the back line. And then we were moving Herbie to 12, who did really well. Did really, really well.
Apologies for anyone who was upset with the language there.
Yeah, sorry.
It's a rugby club. We're okay.
Yeah, sorry. I apologise. I was getting into it again. Yeah, so I think when we had to move Herb to 12 and then Mills, and then we got an injury straight away. Henry got injured in the first 5 minutes, and then we brought a 9 on that only just come in, Tom Cairns, who did fantastically well for us as well, but Mills, who was on the wing. And it was just that game where I think the boys bought in. They really fought. I mean, they did it throughout the whole year, but it was one of those games where Cambridge are a good side. They've had obviously got a consistent squad, and they're doing really well. And up their place is a tough game, and I think the boys did really well in that. I think we were winning, weren't we? towards the.
Yeah,
I think it was about 58 minutes. Albion were on top.
Losing bonus point. I think with 10 minutes to go, we were in that kind of territory.
Yeah, I mean, I thought I was phenomenal from the boys, and I think it was, as I said, the Thursday was probably my lowest point in coaching, where I was thinking we're going to have to put Spud on the wing, and then it got to like after the game on Saturday, where I just thought fair play. We could really see like the development happen, as Damo said, for next year. Is like those little snippets in certain games, and I think Cambridge is a big turning point for us. Yeah.
I think in terms of the lowest points, I think for me, it's not one particular moment, but it's just as Lammy's alluded to. It's just that feeling on a Thursday, in the middle of the season, when as hard as the boys are working, as hard as we're working, we haven't got two fit boys to knock together. And trying to select a team for that, and just trying to actually fulfill everyone's expectations, including our own. When our wants for this club and how we want to be. And then to be faced with literally 17 players available, all at position, regardless of the hard work that the boys were putting in, it was pretty tough really to take. And it was that's kind of the low point in the season. Really, was just that kind of atmosphere sometimes.
Saying that, the Bentos, I still don't reckon you'd have got a game, mate, if you'd have been.
No, 100%. No, there's no way.
Yeah, you're probably right. Well, you sort of answered Keith Shepherd's question about when did you think there was the turning point. You're saying was the Cambridge game.
Yeah, it was Cambridge, but also I think it was actually the game before that. I think that was Cordy away. First half, we didn't turn up. We didn't get off the bus. I think they put 4 tries past us with nothing coming back. And it genuinely looked. The boys will hold their hands up this. It looked like no one wanted to be there. So the change room at half time, obviously myself and Lammy said our piece, but what was really pleasing was there was several senior boys who had just had enough, and you could just see that they were enough of this. The way they were playing, the way that everyone was kind of moping about. We went out and we won the second half 28-14. I think the boys just absolutely went for it. And I think that was the moment when we got back on the bus after that game, and when obviously we can talk about the first half all we want, but it was the recognition of the boys that they've just gone, just taken the league leaders, 28-14 in the second half. And I think from then onwards, there was a bit more belief and a bit more, there was just an attitude shift. And I think the attitude shift was to stop feeling sorry for ourselves because we're in a bit of a hole and we're Plymouth Albion, and actually, we deserve better. And actually, no one's going to do it for us. We've got to do it ourselves. And that was the Coldy trip was it for me, where that second half showed that was the mindset, and that's what we took for the rest of the season.
Yeah, and coming back to the best and worst memories, I'm a divorced dad, so I can't travel to the away games. I got my kids quite a lot, and I have to admit, the game against Chinner, I follow on Twitter, and I usually burn my phone battery through following the games on Twitter. And when we were dead and buried with about 4 minutes left, and scored 3 tries in 4 minutes, I mean, how was that for you guys as a game of rugby? Because you just don't see that.
As an attack coach, it was great, mate. It was lovely. Yeah, I'll let Damo crack on, mate. It was, I think they did really well. Yeah, it was something we didn't expect, did we, Damo? Really, it was a bit like that's game over, and then.
No, I think at that point, mate, that was kind of the start of our ability to pick up points in the last couple of minutes, right? Which is, there might not be wins, but they're so vital. As anyone looks at the table will see, we actually finished with less wins than some teams. But we're higher in the table purely down to the fact that the boys kept going to the last minute. And Chinner was just the first kind of time that had happened, and it was a strange one because we were obviously losing. We were down with, we thought there was like 5 minutes to go. The ref disagreed, thought there was 1 to go, and then all of a sudden, all the Chinner coaches are shouting that that's time up, that's time up. We score a try, and all of a sudden they want the extra 4 minutes. Right? So it just shows how things can change in the space of 30 seconds, and once again, we keep saying it, but full credit to the lads because the ability to pick up those points in the last few minutes wasn't just a one-off. Like they repeated it over and over again. I can't even begin to think of how many games we've done that. Last-minute kicks from Putty for goal. Mauls going over with the last play of the game, etc. It's just it's just a real good attribute to have, and Chinner was obviously it'll live long in the memory for that, really.
Yeah,
just don't tell Ducker. Just don't tell Ducker. That's all.
Well, go on. We'll give him his name check now. The Prince of Plymouth. He does. How do you manage the ego that is Alex Ducker?
You stick.
I'm going to say that. I think people watching this deep into this interview will know Alex Ducker.
Yeah, I just let Lammy deal with him, to be honest. I think it's the safest way.
He's all right. He's all right. No, he's as I said, I think as a player, he speaks for himself, doesn't he? But I think the last couple of months, last 2 or 3 months, he was quite a big part of what we were trying to do, especially in the back line. He was probably the oldest one. There was a lot of lads like Frankie, Shea, Tom Cairns come in. Obviously, Put's playing at 10. When we brought Jez back and Ben Parson, these lads are what? 18, 19, 20, 21, so it's difficult having a winger as like most probably your senior player. And I think before he's always been a bit back, he's looked after himself, and I kind of asked him, kind of got him in and was like, listen, mate, you're going to have to take a bit more of a leadership role in this last few months of the season. He did. He was really good, I think, in the back sessions and stuff. He drove a lot of stuff what we were talking. So it was. Ducker, he's a character. Everyone knows that, and he can let his mouth run away with him a little bit. But if he's onside and he believes what's going on, mate, he'll run through a brick wall for you. So he was really good, and obviously he got a lot of key points and won us a few games in certain parts as well. So I think overall for him in the season, I think he did really well.
Yeah, I think he's one of those guys. He likes to pretend he doesn't care, but actually, he genuinely does. So he's one of those characters that you need around a rugby club. You need boys who are going to provide a bit of energy and provide a few talking points as well.
And then moving on, obviously we've alluded to the challenges with getting the squad bedded in. John Gibson has asked what can be done to bed in next season's players before the season starts. Because there are some new signings coming. We'll talk about them over the next few months over social. But how are we going to make sure that we're starting the season strong?
Well, fingers crossed. This year there should be no COVID, right? And it's not an excuse, but I think you have to realise just what a disruption COVID was in terms of a training factor and planning and etc. There were so many things that we couldn't do until the last moment, which God willing won't be the same. This time around, it does make a huge difference when your usual plans and just little things like getting people together just can't be done. So this season we've obviously got everything ready to go. We've had a season under our belts, so we understand a lot better how the league works, how National One works. The boys understand a lot more about each other. To be honest, they're going to be a lot tighter as a group because they've had that year playing together, they've had that adversity, and they've come through at the other side. So in terms of that, we've actually got what is now a much more settled squad. Last season we started off with the first thing we had was 18 boys leave. So 18 is a huge number. If you're playing against teams, I spoke to the guys at Rams who have lost 2 guys in 4 years. Cambridge have lost a couple of guys in 6 years. It makes a massive difference. So this year, with all the guys re-signing, it'll just get that settled atmosphere to the squad, and boys then, the new guys can then join a settled squad rather than having to become part of something new, which is very difficult when you've got, a squad of 24, 25, and the majority of them are new boys. It makes it really, really tricky. But at least this time around, we'll have obviously, that air of, kind of normality there amongst the boys, and I'm hoping that's going to be a big factor for us.
I think as well, we're trying to do like a bit more in pre-season, aren't we? I think we're trying to, we've got a few things planned out for there. It'd be quite cool for them to get together as a side, a bit of team building, but also that little get together at the club on testing day when we first come back in. So hopefully integrate them pretty well and maybe share a few beers, and that always does pretty well for the atmosphere around the squad, doesn't it?
I should say so. Well, there's a veiled critical question, I think, from Michael Shaw. We have an excellent scrum, superb in open play, but if we kick to touch, our line out has let us down far too often. Please, could the coaches explain what happened to our line out? That's from Michael Shaw.
Well, firstly, Michael must have missed half our maul tries that we scored because you can't get them. No, he's got a point. I mean, you've got to remember as well, we alluded to it before. We've had 4 or 5 guys called the line out this year. We've had to mix and match, and it's very difficult to run a line out. Credit to some of these boys. Like I think Millsy was calling a line out on the weekend, and it was basically only him really was a recognised jumper. Torrin's there as well, but it's Torrin's first season, and it's incredibly difficult skill to run a line out against a full squad when you've got, with the greatest respect, a 6-foot Georgian prop playing second row. So it does make it tricky. It's one of those things that we try and we try and shift around as much as we can in terms of analysis and so forth. But it's just there's a lot of learning needs to be done, and obviously we're doing that as we go along. But it's just having the time and the patience to kind of get the experience into guys. As a guy who used to call a lineup myself, you don't become good at it overnight. It takes a while. It takes a long time to kind of understand the ins and outs of what the defence are showing you and what you should take and when. It's not just a case of having a menu you just read off. And that's something obviously that we've found it pretty difficult. Once again, we're not making excuses, but when we haven't got the numbers, like Lammy will tell you, in training when we're doing unit sessions, it's pretty hard to replicate and kind of opposition defensive line out when you've only got one sub. It's impossible. There's no two ways about it. And it's the kind of thing that isn't, and it's a slow burn, and you will get there. But obviously, just to go back to the point, if you watch our maul, etc., when we do win the ball, we're quite something to behold. So that's something that's going to progress next year, and hopefully will give us a lot more pay.
And then I've got a nice one. Well, I won't ask you a question. John Richards, Coach John, whose son Glenn, they're mega fans of the club. Guys, so proud of the guys ending the season on a massive high. Having to put a new team together was a massive challenge for Damian and Ryan. More Welsh signings, perhaps?
Good shout.
Yeah, I know exactly who that is. I asked that question. How you said that. I think the way to do it is just to give Phil Jones a little bit of a tap on the shoulder, maybe give him some commission, send him down to deepest, darkest valleys and see what
he knows everyone. Phil knows everyone.
Yeah, he does know everyone. Phil, he's a good boy. We're in that stage, and we're trying to build up our recruitment networks, etc. But Wales is obviously, having played there for myself and Ryan as well, it's obviously we like to look at. So obviously, if we can find any decent boys from the valley, just get them to move is the problem. They're always homesick, the Welsh. They always want to stay as close to Wales as they can. So if we can prize them out of Wales, mate, we could be doing all right.
Yeah, and then another. I'm almost done with the questions. Neil Randall, how the hell did you guys manage to finish 11th with the resources you had? What an outstanding effort all round. Which I think is more of a comment, but I don't know if you want to pass anything back to Neil as a yes. Thanks, Neil.
Well, yeah, obviously we're pretty grateful for the comment, and it was a whole squad effort, to be honest. There was no one person who there was no one player, no one coach who managed to sort us out and get us to that situation. It was a massive buy-in from all the boys and some pretty hard work. I can just explain how hard like Ryan works at stuff off the pitch, and obviously our job is to work hard off the pitch, and the boys is to work hard on the pitch, and that kind of is what saw us through, and that kind of working hard mentality, which we did discover in that second half of the season. Hopefully, will carry through next year.
Yeah, and with regards to sort of the work off the pitch and the support you give each other, how valuable to you guys is it to see the support that the club receives, both the Albion travel, every away game there's a busload coming along, and then the 200 club, we need a scrummaging machine, there's one arrives, we need some tackle pads. How important is it for you to see that level of support that the club does enjoy?
Yeah, it's massive, and it's not just about the the money that they kindly donate or that kind of stuff. It's away games when you've gone on a big long trip or whatever, and the boys are sitting on the bus thinking, Christ, we've been on this bus for ages, and then actually get to the ground and there's 20-30 Albion supporters there who've made their own way there, and that they don't have to be there, but they do it because they love it, and that gives can't help but give the boys a lift and a boost, and it's just it does give you something worth paying for, something worth fighting for. And we are lucky in terms of our support base. It's huge, and hopefully they can keep coming along to games, and we should be putting a better product on the pitch from next year.
I think that is well, because obviously we was talking about us getting a lot out of games, and I think that's a big reason of it. When it gets down to the last 20 minutes and boys are fighting, getting into good areas of the field, and there's a massive chant of Albi over the home fans that we've been there. It's really cool. I didn't realise how much it's supported, like away games, and I think a lot of it, the performances the boys put in that last 20-30 minutes to get things out of the game, I think is down to that travelling support as well. So massive thank you to them.
That's cool. And then moving on to the light-hearted questions. Di Maynard, how long is a baby giraffe's neck when it's born? I think that's possibly you were the giraffe on steroids once, Damian. So I don't know.
I was going to say, I think that's directed at me, isn't it? And the answer is I have no clue.
No, and then Dickie Bay is asking, do I need a bigger shirt? No, I don't, Dickie. I'm on a diet at the moment. Thanks for noticing.
You need a nice pink blazer, a new blazer, don't you?
I don't need a new pink blazer. That's the trademark. Other than that, guys, obviously, Ryan, I believe you're now resident in Cornwall.
Right on, Bab. Right on.
And how are you finding your life in Kerno? Is that all right with you?
Yeah, mate, loving it at the moment. The kids are settled in really well at school. That was the most hectic part of it, getting the kids into a decent school, and finding a house down there is hard work, mate. Hard work at the moment with the rent. So it's all done now though. So Dave will can testify. I used to come in a bit stressed sometimes into work. But yeah, we're all settled now, mate, and very happy. New dog, got a new dog yesterday, so proper Cornish with a lab now. So I'm happy as Larry, and just look forward to getting stuck into the pre-season and have a nice little break now. But
Damian, when are we starting pre-season? Is it a month's time or so?
Middle of June, mate. Yeah, middle of June.
Middle of June, boys are back, and I'm sure for those that have made it through to the end of the interview, thank you for watching. We'll be updating with new signings very soon. We've obviously got Herbie Stupple's testimonial in 12 days' time. There's a couple of hospitality tables left if anybody wants them. You can email me, chris@plymouth-albion.com, and I can put you in touch with Herbie Stupple's testimonial people. 30th of July, we've got the Armed Forces Legends game against the Welsh charity Vets again. We'll be putting details of that up very soon for your ticket, £6 a ticket for that one. Boys will start their pre-season. We will have a meet and greet the players. We'll get a date for that out in the next month or so. And beyond that, are there any other messages for the Albion faithful, chaps?
Just that, we're very grateful for the support this year. It does mean a huge amount to the boys and to the squad. And obviously next year we're hoping to kick on and go bigger and better than this season. It'd be amazing to have them along for the journey.
Brilliant. Ryan?
Yeah, echo that, mate. I think the support's been absolutely fantastic, and quite overwhelmed, to be honest. That last second half of the season, a lot of home and stuff. We got a lot of great comments, and the boys really appreciate it. So if we can replicate that for next year, it'd be fantastic. So home games, we're trying to make into a fortress to get as many down to Brickfields as we can.
That's the one. I think a lot of people that have followed Albion have followed for a while, and I'm gonna steal this Trumpism because I quite like it. We're making Albion great again. Right, gentlemen.